Welcome to the podcast where mental health is at the core of what we focus on. We strive to develop people like you to maximize who you are and what you've been called to do by sharing tools and resources for better brain health. And now here's your host, Juan Garcia.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today we are going to focus on distorted sense of responsibility. We have been focusing on untangling relationships in this series, and today we want to highlight how is it that we view what we're responsible for. And obviously, if there's any unhealth in the way we view our responsibilities in life, it has to do with our upbringing. Now, I know people kind of frown upon that, and they're always either thinking, oh, people always say that, psychologists are always saying, well, let's think about your childhood. Let's go back to when you were in the 4th or 5th grade. And it gets kind of comical after a while when people view it that way. But if we're honest, we were all born in a setting, environment, and we were all held to an upbringing that affected us, that influenced us in a good, in a bad, or in an indifferent way. So there is importance in going back and reflecting into times in our childhood just to determine if some of what we are deeming as unhealthy behavior is connected to something from our childhood. And so 99.9% of the time, it is. And I think it's valuable to see if part of our unhealth or codependency, which is the common thread here in all of this unhealthy behavior, has to do with how we grew up and how that has influenced the relationships that we're in now. And remember, when we talk about relationships, we're not just talking about romantic relationships, we're talking about any type of relationship that we are in or we're trying to establish. And as we talk about a distorted sense of responsibility, I can give you a case study. Obviously, names are being changed for identity protection purposes, confidentiality, etc. But think about a family where the father was a military sergeant, and he has a son and he has a daughter. The daughter's the oldest one. The wife basically just gave up on trying to please him. He had, a certain way that things had to happen, and she just tried so hard and was never good enough, and so she just gave up on trying hard, and she just did bare minimum. But the daughter, the oldest, she was compliant. She was considered the compliant child, and all through school did great in her grades. And once she went to college, she started to make different decisions. She's on her own now. She's independent, so she's started to go to parties and be out late, not really do her assignments and her classwork the way she did when she was younger, or at least in the high school years. Now she dabbled with some alcohol, some drugs just to try them, and she actually liked them. And now she's keeping this from her dad. So she comes home for Thanksgiving, the first time that they're going to see each other since she went out to college. And the father realizes, because of some of the monies and the expenses that have been a little, suspicious, that something's up. And so he confronts her, and sure enough, she says, yeah, I go out with my friends, I have a good time. And to his surprise, she actually pushes back. Now, when she was growing up, she would always comply, so he never really had an issue with her talking back to him or pushing back his authority, etc. Now she does. And so this is surprising to him, and they really have a moment in their relationship where it's not going to be the same. So moving forward, she graduates college, she moves on, she starts a family, she gets married, she has kids, and basically visits her parents as she wants or needs. It's more like, don't call me, I'll call you. If the parents ever need anything, she's not volunteering her availability, and that's just the nature of the relationship that now they have. The younger son now was more of the type of son that wants to now help the parents, do everything for the parents, striving and trying very hard to please his father. In fact, he also gets married, and in the process of getting married and the preparation for the wedding, he's more preoccupied with his parents in terms of what they want and how they feel the wedding should go than his actual fiancée, future wife. So you see the two extremes of two children that grew up in a home that had some dysfunction. And one is what's considered the irresponsible one, and the other is overly responsible. I'll give you a guess as to which one is which. Obviously, the daughter is irresponsible and the son is overly responsible. And this is what drives a lot of their behaviors in relationships, specifically their marriages, and of course, their relationship with their parents. And it puts a strain because now they never really dealt with the fact that what they were trying to do, or what they're still trying to do, had everything to do with the unhealth of the relationship in the home when they were growing up. And so that has affected the way they think about life. That has affected the way they think that their responsibilities must be. And so, and the family, it adjusts. It makes the adjustment, which is why people have a hard time sometimes accepting the fact that there's some codependency traits in their behavior, because yeah, there's some strain, there's some hurt feelings, there's some isolation at times, but you know, the family, we love each other, you know, we have a good time when we get together for holidays, etc. And so codependency is not necessarily an indication that relationships are going to be destroyed. It's the issue is more so that codependency creates a tolerance of behavior that's not healthy, whereas individuals can't, or feel that they can't be honest about how they feel, or they're worried about other people's feelings and their opinions. And so you're walking around on eggshells, and you're not able to be who you are. And people live a whole lifetime this way. So please understand that just because we're talking about codependency and as it relates to mental health and relationships, just because it doesn't destroy a relationship necessarily in and of itself, even though it can, obviously, and it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be dealt with and it shouldn't be identified. Any unhealth, any codependency trait is not good, and it should be identified and it should be dealt with in a healthy way so that relationships are better for it, and including the relationship with yourself. So don't dismiss any potential codependency traits. Don't make it seem like, oh, it's no big deal, we all have something. No, it is a big deal. And as it relates to emotionally dependent people, which is where the codependency sometimes shows up, let me just read some of the things that it does in the emotionally dependent area as it relates to some of the assumptions that we make, which become false beliefs, which drive our thinking and our belief systems that affect and influence our behavior. Listen to this. If he is angry, it must be my fault. I feel guilty. If she is sad, I must have done something to hurt her feelings. If she is afraid, I need to comfort and protect her. If she is happy, I must have helped him. Or excuse me, if he is happy, I must have helped him. Or even more personal for the codependent are these types of thinking or thoughts. If I am angry, he needs to change how he treats me. If I am sad, it's her fault. If I am afraid, he needs to protect me. If I am happy, it is because she appreciates me. And so it creates this emotional dependent, meaning how I feel or how I think depends on how this person is either treating me or thinking of me or making me feel. That doesn't add value or worth, or take away value or worth to you. Remember, your value, your worth, your sufficiency, your sense of purpose is an inside job. It comes from God, is deposited in our spirits. And the day we identify what that is, it becomes a truth to us, and we live outside. We live it out. We live our lives because of what we've discovered that's within us from God. It doesn't come from without. It doesn't come from people. It doesn't come from things. It doesn't come from money. It doesn't come from places that we can experience, go, or see, or be. It has nothing to do with it. So let's make a note of that so that we have healthy approaches to relationships that we develop and that we build, and we identify if there are codependency traits that we've had and we've developed throughout the years because of how we experienced life when we were younger, or based on trauma or something that affected us that was very severe. And then I'll wrap up this episode with this. Codependents prevent others from developing responsibility. So if I am constantly trying to be a savior, or I'm avoiding helping someone because I think I'm going to fail, we're not allowing the person to develop their own sense of responsibility, which is what parents do with kids. We either over isolate them or we let them do whatever they want because we want to give our kids independence, and both have merit and value, and both have to be looked at with a healthy lens, because both extremes are unhealthy and are very, very bad. We have to have a balance, and each individual is different. You can't give the liberties or the restraints to one person that may not look the same for another, and compare, or vice versa. Everyone's different, and so you need to approach every person differently as it relates to your kids and the people that you're raising. So that's one. Two, codependents neglect themselves. They're last. Everybody has to be taken care of. Everybody has to be saved. You know you're codependent when you're trying to look for a problem to solve in other people, and then yet you're the last one that you take care of. That's not healthy. Codependents resent being saviors. They save, and then they feel bad. They feel guilty. Codependents threaten but continue rescuing. That'll be the last time that I bail you out. That'll be the last time that I loan you money. That'll be the last time that I pick you up. And then 2 days later, you hear the person storming in. What's wrong? Oh, I had to go pick up so-and-so because they slept in, they overslept, and they missed the bus, and I had to take them to work. No. Can't do that. Codependents threaten, but continue rescuing because it adds some type of value and worth to them, the fact that they're bailing the people out. Codependents lack objectivity about serving and helping others. And codependents take themselves too seriously. These are realities that we deal with people that struggle with codependency traits. And so as we untangle some of these relationships that we're seeing that have layers and layers of issues, we have to recognize that not only could there be a lack of objectivity, as we discussed in the previous episode, but there can also be a distorted sense of responsibility where either I have a savior complex or a Judas complex. I need to save people, or I feel guilty because I don't have what it takes to save people, and so I beat myself up. And so these are the things that we want to identify and make note of it and replace them with healthy habits. And so if you or someone you know is in a similar scenario, situation, whatever you want to call it, have them or you yourself look for help. We are here to help. There's many resources out there, therapists and counselors that can help you and provide you tools and resources for your codependency. So don't do it alone. Don't try to figure it out. Don't say, oh, it's no big deal. Get the help you need and start living a healthier life with yourself, with God, and with others. So that's all for this episode. Until next time, I will see you then.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast. For more information, visit our website at juangarciaenterprises.com. Our host, Juan Garcia, is available for speaking, coaching, and one-on-one counseling. You can email us at info@juangarciaenterprises.com. Until next time, remember, we only have one mind, so mind yours.